until this day, sometimes I'm like, babes, can we just plant some of the regular carrots? Because these ones aren't doing so well. And she'd be like, oh, okay. So I'll buy some local carrots and then I'll put them in until we get the seeds that work. We really want.
Okay, let's try this again. We can hear you. Okay, thank you, Facebook. I finally got a message from Facebook. Okay, there you go, Christopher. Let's try this again. Okay. Yes. How's the audio now, Christopher?
Beautiful. Coming in loud and clear.
Awesome. Thank you. See, persistence pays off.
Every time.
Everybody, Sanjay came back in. Thank you, Sanjay. And Facebook can hear us, so that's awesome. So we're doing well here. We'll just hang out for a little bit and let everybody come back in. Has everybody had a good weekend so far? Let's see what kind of comments I get back here. Nobody's saying anything. I don't know if that's a bad thing or a good thing. Is that no news isn't good news?
Warming up.
That's right. I like your spirit. They are warming up. Yeah, we had quite a few people earlier and just waiting for them to come back in.
Yeah, I saw Takula.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Cool. Nice to see people from similar circles.
It is. It's like, hey, we're all in this together. Hi, Jason. Welcome back.
And how's the farm?
The farm has been great. We're grouping for breeding right now, so that's what we're working on. So we have yes. So actually, our last Saturday, we had a kid in the middle of the live.
Are you serious?
Oh, and I forgot to tell everybody. Yes. And I at the end of the live, I did a mini live video because everybody's like, "Can we see the kid?" So I did a mini live with the kid. Yeah, nice. So that was fun. And we did have a naming contest, and I forgot to tell you guys that the name that won was Chocolate. So we had a naming contest for the kid. It's now Chocolate.
Nice. I like that. Like chocolate.
Yeah, Tukulan Tama. Is that your friend? Hi, welcome.
Hi, Takula Wagwan.
Awesome. All right. So our people are a little bit, on Jamaican time. So they'll trickle in as the discussion goes on. So thank you very much for joining us, Christopher. And I feel like I've known you and Lisa vicariously. Because
I was thinking the same thing this evening. That social media allows us to be acquainted over miles.
Yes, because we've been hearing about Stush in the Bush for a long time, and we're like, we gotta go, we're gonna go. We haven't made it yet, but I'm gonna tell you when I'm coming. My birthday's November, so really? I'm putting it out now. My birthday's coming.
What day in November?
It's the 18th of November.
Well, we can celebrate our birthdays then, because mine is the 14th.
Really? Yes.
Yes.
Okay. It's done. It's a done deal.
Make that reservation, girl. Make that reservation.
I will. Awesome. Yeah, all right, guys. Thank you again for joining us. I see Mr. Lincoln is on the line too. Thank you, guys. So welcome to our live this evening. Yes, this is my second week in a row. So it's usually every other week thing, but I'm here today again. So you guys just going to have to deal with me today. So our guest today is actually Christopher Binns. And unfortunately, Lisa can't be with us, or maybe she can pop in. We don't know. But they are the founder.
She's actually joining us online from our Stush in the Bush. So she'll be watching and maybe commenting.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. I did see the Stush in the Bush. I wasn't sure who it was. Hi, Lisa. I'll have to come meet you guys in person one day. Hopefully COVID is going to calm down here in a little bit. But anyway.
Yeah,
until then. Until then, we'll do the whole virtual thing. So Lisa and Chris are actually founders and owners, I saw the hi, hello, of a farm-to-table experience in St. Anne, and it's called Stush in the Bush. And like I said, guys, I feel like I've been there and I've experienced it, and I haven't really been there yet. But we're going to fix that here pretty soon. So Chris, thanks you again for joining us. And Lisa, thank you for joining us online. So I want to start by you telling us your story. Where are you guys from? Your background before you started farming? Because I think that's always interesting because most of us didn't start out in farming. We just kind of ended up there, right? So maybe some information, schooling, your experience with farming prior to your business. So just give us any little interesting information about you guys.
All right. Well, I'll give you the long and the short of it. Lisa
Okay.
she's actually born in Barbados.
Okay.
She's an island girl. Moved to New York at a young age and had lived there most of her life. She's a lifelong teacher.
Okay.
So she studied education, taught for many years, and also was a principal of a high school. When I met her, she was a high school principal.
Mm-hmm.
I know, born in Jamaica, migrated to Canada when I was about 10, lived there for about 15 years, moved back to Jamaica 1 week after my 25th birthday. Had an inkling about going into farming because that's how I was raised. Our house was in the middle of a banana walk.
Oh,
So,
okay.
so the family house, you just couldn't help but be connected to food and the land all around you. So after being away in Canada for 15 years and missing not only the climate but the access to food, I came back and started to make my way in Jamaica, reconnect with my community, reconnect
Mm-hmm.
with the people, reconnect with the islands, reconnect with myself in ways that I hadn't after living away for so long. And then after being here for about, how long was it? About 10 years?
Mm-hmm.
15 years, sorry. Yeah, I met Lisa.
Okay.
Yeah, we met in Portland at the Fiwisinting Festival.
There
So,
was Scenting Festival. All right.
Fiwisinting. I don't think it's no longer being kept, but it was
Okay.
put on by this lady named Sister P down there she started way up in the hills of Portland and went to a few different locations, but ended up at Somerset Falls.
Okay.
And the kind of like the background or the emphasis for the festival was the African presence within the Jamaican setting.
Okay.
So she celebrated like African food, music, culture, dress, the clothing. There was like an African marketplace, spoken word. There was lots and lots of food, and it brought people together from all over Jamaica and also from all over the world, and that's where we met. The story itself, you have to come to some Stush in the Bush to hear the full story.
It's okay. Okay. I like the trailer to get us in there.
Yes, you can't give away the whole spice.
I give away the full story.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Although it's out
All
there,
right.
it's out there. Yeah.
It is. But, hey, you still can entice us to come. That's okay.
Yeah, it's an open invitation for sure.
Absolutely. Very good. So, speaking about it being out there, there is a fabulous YouTube interview online, guys. And it's called Creating Money, Magic, and Mastery with Your Love Partner. And this is actually an interview that Chris and Lisa did with Stacey Hines, and I think she's called Balance Boss or something like that. So, guys, talk about the whole story. The whole story's there, and it's definitely a good listen. I mean, I loved it. I sat there and I was just enthralled the whole time. Right? So tell us a little bit more about the love story. Don't give away the whole thing, but tell us a little bit more about the love story. And then how did the business come about? Give us a little bit a background there. And then we'll go from there. Let's start there.
Well, it's funny that you asked those two questions together because you'll probably have an inkling that the business came about it was like the child of the love story. So, yeah, and it's funny. We actually met. I think we met on Valentine's Day, or was very close to Valentine's Day, and it was also close to her birthday as well. So, just like in the movies, I was there at the festival, and we were premiering a product. A mentor of mine had a product that we were sampling at the festival, and it was called Black Bull. So I always, every time I tell the story, I have to be reminded about Taibika and Tendai Fudail. They have a business called Herbal Renaissance.
Okay.
Yeah, and had really, at that point in my life, they had really taken me in like their son. My mother was in the States. My father passed away years ago. And they were Pan-Africanists, just really caring, loving people, but also very outgoing, resourceful, engineering, full of integrity, just people that it was easy for me to be amongst. And that's why I was at the festival, other than the fact that you wanted the experience. So Taibika knew a friend of ours, a mutual friend that knew Lisa and was a teacher for her at the school she was teaching at in New York. So that's how she came down to Jamaica.
Okay.
So there I was pouring this drink, and a spirit just said, "Hey, look up." Because you're pouring, you're looking down. And when I looked up, I was looking dead center into Lisa's eyes.
Wow.
And she has these eyes that are like, they're childlike and just vibrant and full of life. And at that moment, I was lost for a good little while. And like, by the time I really came to myself, the gentleman, Taibika, that I was my mentor, was right beside me with Lisa. And he just took her hand and put it in mine, said, "Hey, Lisa, this is Christopher. Christopher, this is Lisa." And this is my side of the story. He says, like, "By the way, Christopher, Lisa she's available."
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So I was like, whoa, this is an opportunity.
Divine intervention.
Timing was yeah, totally.
Okay.
So timing was a big part of it because, I've been single for a long time and kind of was ready to change my life in a sense for, seeking a more committed relationship. And really, I was honestly looking for someone that could help me fulfill the vision that I had for this farm. And like a helpmate, a partner, someone I could share my life with, share my experiences with. Everybody wants at some point in their life someone they can share your life with, like 100%. And the universe said, "Yeah, all right, here it is. What are you gonna do about it? This is what you asked for." And after that meeting, we were married 2 months later.
Wow. That
Yeah.
was quick. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was
That's awesome.
It was a leap of faith, for sure.
On both sides. I mean, she's coming from New York and you're here in Jamaica. So that's awesome. That's such a great story. Hope you guys enjoy that story as much as I did. Okay. So let's move. How do we go from the love story into the business then? Because you said the love story is the child business, the birth child of the business.
So at this point, we're essentially we're in 2 different time zones because she's still living in New York. I'm still living in Jamaica. 2 slightly different realities too, because, I'm in the bush. No lights, no running water. Yeah. So just think about putting those 2 worlds together in some way. And I did go up to New York for a while, and I couldn't manage it, but not telling a lie. It was too much of a stretch from where I was. And I already lived in the city, and I already kind of said I had enough of that. And she tried her very best to make me at home and take me all really cool places. that's when I really discovered that she was a full-on foodie. You know,
Oh.
you have people that like food, people that eat, and then being a foodie is something totally different. And that's, I learned what being a foodie was from her. Like, foodie restaurants, foodie the spots, foodie the farmers market to get like the fresh produce, the fresh ingredients, the flowers for the presentation of the food, the little joints where you got all these different experiences. Just a real attention to detail with not just what you're eating, but how it's presented and how it's prepared.
Okay. Okay.
And then
So, go ahead.
I decided, I think more than anything else, that I really wanted to go back to Jamaica because I was very attached to the land and the farm and was planning on that anyways. And so about 8 months after we were married, we were both now living on the farm in Jamaica. And even before she came out, she's like, I'm coming down. What do you want me to bring? And I asked for my favorite things. One of them was Chips Ahoy chocolate chip cookies at the time. Yeah. And seeds. I said, bring seeds. You know,
Okay.
she's like, what kind of seeds? I said, bring all of the things that you love to eat. And one suitcase full of seeds later, she was here in Jamaica, and we were off on this experience first to provide like a variety of produce for us to eat ourselves, because typically, especially at that time in Jamaica, being a vegetarian, I was a vegetarian. She still ate. She went vegetarian when we met, but she still ate fish, so pescatarian. But you had a limited variety of vegetables that you could have down here. So you have the staples like carrots, you have beetroot that you can get fairly regularly. You can get cabbage, you can get kalaloo, chocho, okra, which are beautiful and wonderful to have and to have readily available. But when you go fully vegetarian, number one, you need that access to a variety of produce, and you also have to have the creativity to know how to make things different so that you're not bored. So we brought in all of these unusual. See, she introduced me to arugula.
Nice. Love arugula.
Straight. Yeah, and arugula loves our farm. So from that first planting of rocket, we have rocket on the farm to this day because it just keeps coming back. And at that time, really, there weren't a lot of people offering like unusual vegetables on the market. Nowadays, you have tons of people that are doing it. But then we were one of the only people where you could get mixed lettuces, you could get your mustard greens, you could get your purple carrots, your yellow carrots, you could get Parisian, French, round carrots, cilantro, parsley, all of the herbs. We really went into that. And then we were ventured out into growing heirloom tomatoes, just to really, well, one of her mantra and one of the main ways how the business evolved. It evolved around her two different characters. Yes. So we always Swiss chard. Yes. Well, the story behind the Swiss chard is a whole story unto itself.
If we have and we'll go there, but if not, we'll sit.
That really pushed us out into the national market across Jamaica. Swiss chard did. But that evolution of the business evolved around who we were differently as people. So that foodie is the Stush. Everything about being a foodie, about presentation of food, about the ingredients, right down to the seed, down to now when you're talking about the decor, how you want the food to look, how you want the space around the food to look. And that has evolved a lot. And then me now, I am straight up bush. You know what I mean? Most of my time, I am barefoot and half naked in the bush. So there was no really, there was, yeah, a little too much information, but there's no other place that I could have fit in this puzzle. And it just worked because she's also very, that education aspect. She's got a very keen eye and attention to detail. She's fully computer literate. And I haven't, being in the bush for like 15 years while the computer revolution was going on, I had no clue. Even a smartphone was a new thing for me. So that business side of what we do is 90% her. So she takes care of all those details. And it was initially just about surviving as a new couple. You know, you have this new relationship, you're learning about each other. She left her former profession behind. I'm here in Jamaica growing carrots, which are a low value crop. Lots and lots of it. And then now we had to figure out how are we going, and we couldn't survive like I was surviving, because being a bush Rasta man in the bush by yourself is one thing. Being there with your Stush, New York, sophisticated wife is another thing.
A whole different ball game.
A whole different ball game. So I had to step up my game, number one. And she took the bull by the horns. That same story about the Swiss chard meant that we grew like a whole lot of Swiss chard, because it was one of the first seed that I put in the ground, and it did beautifully. But again, at that time, you couldn't really bring Swiss chard to the local market because people were like, what is that Pop Joe? You know what I mean? It's just not.
Yes.
Yeah. So we started to like put together little sample packages, and she took taxi, because that time we didn't have a vehicle.
Wow.
Took taxi, going out to like the little restaurants, because we're right smack dead in the North Coast. Some of the small boutique hotels. And it was there that we met a lady that kind of just really appreciated what we had to offer. She's Elise Yap from the Blue House, just over on the Ed of Ocherius there. And she just opened up her Rolodex to show you how far we're going, and went through her contacts and was like, here, I'm going to call this person, call that person, call that person. And from there, we got introduced to the North Coast as people that were providing high quality produce, and also at that time you would call it exotic produce as well. So from there we went to we set up like an online ordering system where you could place orders and then we would deliver. So we had a few customers from that, and then we partnered with another farmer that was doing a farmer's market down there in Montego Bay. And then we went to all of the food events that we were invited to. Again, the farm is way down in this gully. We'd walk all the way up the hill with all our produce. We'd catch a taxi, take the taxi to the venue, sell off early, and then take our time, come back. On the way back, we'd stop in Priory, buy some fried fish and bami and thing, and eat it by the beach, and then taxi go home at the end of the evening.
That's so cool. Wow. Dedication.
Dedication.
Lisa, I lift my hat to you.
You got to. Me too. I don't have one on, but every day.
Sure. Very hot.
Every day.
That's awesome.
Yeah, man. We put it down. She put it down. And, you know, people always say that to me. When they come to the farm and I bring them down to where we used to live and I show them how we started out, that they always say, boy, she must have really loved you.
That's a serious love right there.
Yeah. So when you talk about the love story that became the business story, the success story, it's all of that. Awesome. It's blood, sweat, and tears. It's joy, it's anger, it's pain, it's loss, it's gain. It's all the things that make a good story. And, you know, you really have to no matter what happens, I think you have to preserve that love.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Very. So in the story, you mentioned about carrots.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
And there's a really cool story about around carrots. So there's one around Swiss chard.
Yes.
Right? So I thought the carrot story is a really interesting story that has to talk about has to tie in how we do our farming with our marketing. So I'll let you tell the carrot story.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. The carrot story. The carrot story is like really close to when we first started out. So she was still in New York. She hadn't moved out to Jamaica at that time. We had just met. I had sold myself as a farmer and was now preparing her for her to come back to Jamaica. So I had to make sure I had the goods to substantiate that I was a legit farmer and not just what do you call it now, a backyard gardener or a subsistence farmer or whatever. Hi, hi. So I went all in. We had like about 20, I think, people from the community working on the farm at the time. We have 15 acres. I must have worked up the entire 15 acres. And one of the staple crops up here and crop that I knew how to grow was carrots. So we put in about maybe 2 or 3 acres of carrots. Local,
Oh, the carrot.
big, local, nothing fancy carrot. But I knew I could get it sell easy and I knew I could grow it. So yeah, we did like sweet pepper, we did pop chow, all of the local vegetables that you could possibly think of, because that's what was available. And
And, that,
so hmm?
and that's what sells to the local.
That's what sells to the locals, right? So I had to be thinking as a local farmer. So bam, harvest time comes around, and I'll just give you an instance. We were spending probably about at that time maybe about 25, 30,000 Jamaican dollars on labor per week, because I mean I
Whoa.
literally was employing most of our community because everybody balance is everything. Carrot story shows how sustainability and ingenuity can transform your farming. So there's a preempted from
Yeah.
Stush herself, right? So bam, it's harvest time. We reap carrots. I had a small shed down on the farm, and I mean, by the time we harvested the first couple sections, the shed was basically full of carrots. I mean, up to the top of the roof, full.
Mm-hmm.
And I was there feeling quite proud of myself.
Of
It was the
course.
first time I ever planted so much carrot. Harvest was pretty good. It was a lot of work, not just only to plant them, maintain them, but to bring them in. And we had a friend of mine that had a higgler that came in from Kingston, and she come with a van. So she come with this van, and when she come with the van, she looked at me, and first thing she said to me is, "Where the carrot there? Where the carrot there?" So she was expecting more. So I was like, oh, it's too late for me to go draw anymore. So this is what I have. So she packs it up. I think it worked out to be maybe about 1,500 pounds.
Okay.
Carrots, maybe something in that region. And at that time, it was selling for about, the big ones were selling for like $15 a pound. And the smaller ones were like $10 a pound.
Uh-huh.
So she takes everything. She's gone. And I call Lisa in the evening and I'm telling her my victory, my story. So
When
I'm
I had
like, great day. So here I am. Got all these carrots. She's like, oh, wow. So how was your harvest? I was like, it was great. We took in about 1,500 pounds, blah, blah, blah. So she's like, well, how much do you get for that? And I was like, well, it works out to about $25,000. She's like, is that US? And I'm like, yeah, no, 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 not quite, not quite. Yeah. So yeah, she probably had that laugh like you for a good little while, and then she said, "Oh no, we have to do something different." So that was the beginning of learning, one, that you have to provide something that that attracts a different market. If you're going into the local market and you have everything that's available in the local market, you're going to be there with everybody else,
Mm-hmm.
looking like everybody else, right? So
Yeah.
one of the key things about what we did was, in ordering seeds, even if we were ordering carrots, we'd order rainbow carrots, or we'd order these round Parisian carrots that were just like honey. They were so delicious. Or,
Right.
it's always about having, if you're going into the market with your raw produce, it's about
Mm-hmm.
having something unusual. That's how you
Yeah.
attract the market. You want a high value, attractive product that a chef is going to love, that a housewife is going to love, that even a retailer is going to see it and say, whoa, this is something that was going to fly off my shelves, and only you have it. So now I have to kind of focus on creating that market, or creating a space for what you have in my market, instead of trying to figure out where to put another carrot. You know what I mean? So another thing that it also really, and it took me a while to understand this, is the idea about quality control. And
Quality.
if you want quality control, and if you want high value for your product, you have to put about high value product. Right now, I see, what's the name? Rhymesbury asking, where do we order seeds?
Yes.
Part of our farming strategy is, number one, to grow our own seeds. So we initially start by ordering from certified organic non-GMO seed company in Vermont. They're called High Mowing Organic Seeds, and we're proud to really support them because they do provide high quality certified organic non-GMO seeds, important to us. Plus, we also plant a lot of heirloom seeds, and we specify in heirloom seeds because our soil seems very acquainted with them. They do very well. And also, heirloom seeds are true to seed. So if I plant an heirloom tomato and I harvest that tomato and I dry those seeds and I plant back those same seeds, I'm going to get that exact same tomato. With a lot of hybrid seeds, if you plant back that same seed, a lot of them will not grow because they've been modified in some ways. And I shouldn't say hybrid seeds, I should say really genetically modified seeds, because you have seeds that are open pollinated and hybridized naturally. But a lot of the genetically modified seeds and hybrid seeds will not, true to form. So a hybrid is a cross between two different plants. So when you plant back that seed from it, you might get the same plant, or you might get the other plant, or you might get a diversion of those things. So yeah, it's seeds are a challenge in Jamaica because you don't really have any organic seed providers on the island. And even regular seeds, even those same carrot seeds that we were planting, none of
Uh-huh.
them come from Jamaica.
Okay.
I
And it's hard to
think
even find a good variety of seeds. It's like everywhere you go, it's the
it's the
same stuff. And
same stuff because it's coming
one.
from all the same companies, and it's Monsanto.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
it's not. Fortunately, we do have a history of seed saving on the island. So you just kind of want to get in touch with that old farmer that has that old red corn stash in his old kitchen hanging up so the smoke
Uh-huh.
reaches free. And every year he plant back that same corn. That's how you're gonna get those kind of seeds. When it comes to the exotic stuff, buy heirloom seeds, grow some out, plant back those seeds. And
Wow.
we really have to get back to that culture of seed saving as a nation as well.
Yeah. One seed that goes really well. One thing that goes really well for me is dill. Do you guys have dill?
We do grow dill. We do grow
It's
dill.
like it takes over. I love it. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't even have to do anything. It grows all on its own. So
Yes. So I love those kind of seeds.
mm,
I love those kind of seeds. And Lisa is saying Bodles, which is
total.
up by, I think they're up by the University of the West Indies, is a seed.
Yeah.
They do offer some non-treated seeds like Scotch bonnet and stuff like that. So you can get those locally. Somebody
Right.
has asking about import. If you're importing large quantity, you have to have a phytosanitary certificate from the Ministry of Agriculture. If you're importing small quantity, have that friend that's good with a smuggle. Coming in, yeah,
You
they're
didn't say that
coming
out
in
loud.
from the state. Eh? Hey, I'm sorry. Lock me up.
Hey, you got
You no, trust me. If I have people coming down and say, "Hey, what do you want us to bring?" I'm sending you that seed
seeds.
order. I'm sending you that seed order.
Seeds.
Come and say, yeah. I
Absolutely.
mean, if you're gonna lock me up for something, I'll accept that. Accept that.
They'll take it all day long. All right.
Yeah, man.
So one of the things that I know is that you guys are very purposeful and intentional in everything that you do. Even from the beginning, you were very purposeful about how the farm was laid out and how everything was going to be planted and what you're going to be planting and where you're going to be planting it and terracing it and all that good stuff. So tell
Mhm.
us why you did that and what benefit you got out of doing that. I say you
Um,
got.
well, again, it's that combination of very organized, which is Lisa,
Mhm.
and very disorganized, which is me. And
Yin
you
and yang.
mentioned you mentioned the terracing of the farm.
Mhm.
That was tooth and nail. That was tooth. We fought out there because I was like, oh my God, it's 15 acres, and you're gonna want me to go over this 15 acres with A-frame. And then the farmers that were working with me had never seen anything like this. They were trying to get me to do something different that wasn't exactly what I wanted them to do. And I
Excited.
was like, yo, I just want to throw these seeds in the dirt, goddamn. So we were out there. We were out there arguing about where this is supposed to go, and then the farmers were there laughing at us because they were like, "Oh my God, what are these guys really talking?" They just fuck the land, just fuck the land. So over the years, though, as I've seen the results, you check out their text. uh,
Yes.
as you start to see the results, because contouring, all of our farm is on hillside. There's
Mhm.
no flat. There's no flat. So the standard practice for most of our locust farmers is what they call like broadcast. So you get your fork from top to bottom. You just throw your seeds there. You normally put like a head trench at the top to take off the heavy water. Um, so what what that does is that it takes off the heavy water from the top, but when you get a lot of rainfall on the land itself,
Mhm.
you inevitably end up getting wash. Your topsoil
Okay.
just get washed away. Your seeds get washed away. Sometimes the whole land just tears away. So terracing, which involves using an A-frame to plot out, terracing is ancient. When you look at all those Aztec, Mayan cultures that have been planting food for generations, they use those terraces. Thailand, when you see the rice terraces and all those things, it's an ancient form of not only conserving your topsoil, but also channeling water through large areas of farmland. So it took me a while because I've been so stuck in what I was doing for the years before Lisa came to the farm to really now switch over into that. And then we started to get into organic very seriously. I was a member of the Jamaica organic movement for years, and we got involved in that together. We did some courses for them on diversity in agriculture, and really started to realize that, well, number one, what we were doing wasn't about, it wasn't necessarily about earning a living. It was our way of life.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's always been really important over the years. When you talk about why you need to maintain that integrity and that standard, for us is because it's an everyday, it's how we live every day.
Okay.
So we never started farm to table because we wanted to be a farm to table experience. We started farm to table because that's how we eat, and when we have friends over, that's how we feed them. And that's how the experience really started. It started with friends coming over that wanted to eat the food that we were offering in the marketplace on the farm. So the organic aspect helped with that. Permaculture also was in there as far as how you lay out. And I mean, we're really have always been, the two of us have always been people that appreciate the natural aspect of life, the wood. And I'm fortunate with that as well. You know, we went solar from the beginning. And
Nice.
she was all for that. She wasn't like, oh my God, let's get JPS. What are you talking about, solar? She was like, yep, solar. We've harvested all of our rainwater. So we're not connected to JPS. We're not connected to the Water Commission. So pretty much the layout kind of dictates that our house is at the highest point on the hill.
Okay.
Kind of. But
Kind
that
of.
house, the first house is where we had our water tank. So the first house that we built, the water tank was at the base. So it's like an octagon, and then we have a round water tank at the base. It's at the highest point on the farm. So that allows us to gravity feed, if necessary, water all over to the other locations on the farm. You also get the best view because it's at the top. You also get the most sunlight because it's the most open as well, and that's good for the solar panels. So that was one of the big choices where we were going to place our main living space. One, for the possibility of harvesting rainwater, definitely for solar panel use, and also so you get a vantage point of the whole farm. And then from there, you can kind of lay out where you're going to put all the other stuff. And as we are here, we're always thinking about what to do where you don't require extra power, where you don't require electricity to pump that water to somewhere. Although you do, suppose you don't have the electricity. Suppose you don't get rain for a while, or you can't go out and get water. How do you survive? You know, the idea of being self-sustained has always been very important to us. So electricity, water, food. Those three essential things are things that we should always have some degree of control over.
That's, I will tell you, that's where we're still working on ours. We still rely a lot on JP. I mean, it takes time to put all the stuff together, but it's in the work for us too. So that's awesome. And I want you to know that I think it's probably about a month ago was the first time I ever saw terracing, and I learned about the A-frame because my friend from Liberty Farm, she does it. All her stuff is on the hill. So she went through the same challenge that you did, where she's trying to do it the right way, and everybody's looking at her like, "Why are you doing it like that? Just put it in the ground." And she's like, "No, this is." So be happy to hear that, you know, sticking to her guns was a good thing.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Definitely. 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 I mean, that's Jamaica in general. We are very stuck in our ways.
Yes.
Sometimes I marvel at how we know something about something that we know nothing about.
Same thing we're talking about. It's so true. Everybody knows everything.
Everybody knows.
Until you get them to do it, and they're like, "Well, I don't know that part." Well, really?
Right, that's so. Or them done it and mash it up, and now you have to go fix what they thought.
Yes, it's amazing. Absolutely amazing. All right. So, can you walk us through a day in the life at Stush in the Bush? So, 2 days I want to see. I want to walk us through a work day. And then also want you to walk us through when we come for the farm experience. What do we, without giving away this whole story though, but tell us what are we gonna get there. So start with the work day first.
All right. So all of them are work days. We have days when we have guests and days when we don't have guests. We technically say that Saturday, which is today's our rest day. So that's the one day that we try not to do anything too demanding. We try to get to the beach. We try to just relax at home. Um, and we don't have guests on Saturday. And that was a challenge to get Lisa to accept from the start, because in the in the world of work, Saturday is a high volume business day.
Mm-hmm.
And I have been a Rasta Adventist for a few years now, or at least sabbatical orders. So that's the basis of that. But I also
Okay.
saw that if you make your farm life or your business life completely about the acquiring of money and capital, you're gonna get lost. You're gonna get lost. You're gonna get lost. You're gonna get burnt out. You're going to get overwhelmed. You're going to get this feeling like, what am I doing with all my work and my time? And I've experienced that before. And I realized that you have to have a time that you keep for, some people call it self-care, meditation, contact with
Okay.
the Most High. Just a day when you're not dealing with all the things that you're dealing with for the other 6 days out of the week.
Very true.
So that's Saturday. Your average Monday nowadays, we don't have guests. So we get up most days. We're up by 6 o'clock. 5:30, I'm usually up. As for getting out of the bed, that sometimes takes a little longer. But I'm
Okay.
usually out by 6. We have animals. We have like a donkey cub, a horse, and we have one ram. So I tend to check them first thing in the morning, grass, make sure everybody's cool. We also have 6 dogs. So 4 that are very close to us, 2 that are kind of not so close, but you know. So
Mm-hmm.
I like to make sure all the animals are okay, because those are your living things. And then I get to my plants. So by about 7, now Lisa's up. She's been on the computer, dealing with the business, answering emails, paying bills, checking the news, checking the weather, ordering seeds, all those things that I don't tend to do and that needs to be done. And by 8 o'clock, depending on what's happening that day, we're on it. So if it's a processing day, we're up in the kitchen, we're getting the produce together. Staff usually comes in we have a farm staff that typically checks in by 8 o'clock. And then we have a kitchen staff that rolls in by 9. So we're either processing stuff. So we're making like jams, jellies, the pepper sauce, the blow fire, the piri piri, the 6 for 9. Or we're doing orders. We do have an online system now where you can order products from us and we deliver Kingston. We send in also to Montego Bay, to Ochi and stuff like that. So there's some days that we're specifically preparing product, produce, things like the coconut yogurt, which he's mentioning, that goes out for orders or is going out to some of our retailers in Kingston. And then in between there, we slip in some time for doing farm work, weeding, grassing, sowing, planting, plowing. We might have deliveries to do. We're also pretty much perpetually in construction mode. So we have laborers that are working on one thing or the other that you have to deal with. Unlike any other home operation business, leaky pipes, you have pumps that don't work, we got animals that are in mating season. So like you had to deal with your baby goat there, your kid coming. We just had puppies the other day. We had our female is in heat now. So, farm life is
Never.
typically, yeah. Typically by about, if we have guests, and I'll get to the guest days differently, if we don't have guests, by about 7 or 8 o'clock, we're in bed. We like to kind of go down with the sun and rise up with it. If we do have guests, by about 9, 10 o'clock, we're in bed.
Okay.
So the guest days now are fairly similar. We get up at the same time, sometime a little bit earlier. You got to move with more purpose on those days because there's a lot to get together. Our guests arrive nowadays at 12 o'clock because of the curfew in Kingston, but typically would be at 1 o'clock. And they're here with us for 5 hours.
Nice.
Right. So they're here, or is it 4 hours? 4 hours, sorry. They're here from 1 o'clock till 5 o'clock, 12 o'clock till 4 o'clock. Or sometimes sometime about there. So while they're here, they get our full attention.
Nice.
So it's all about getting all of the food out before they're here. Now it's all of the prep work. So you have to prep the space itself so that everything is pristine. It doesn't look like you were just cutting the grass or you were just fixing that pipe. All the tools got to be stashed, all the dog bowls. So there's a lot of cleanup.
Wow.
A lot of cleanup because you're moving from operational farm to table experience. And you can't have the lingering parts of the two of those coming together. It kind of just destroys the vibe. And Lisa is a perfectionist. So if it's a leaf of grass that's out of place, make sure know that you're going to hear about it. So we like to make sure that everything, and you want that because that's how we got to be how we are.
Yes. You got to keep that. That's what everybody can expect. Yeah.
And you have to exceed it actually every time. So you can't even rest on your laurels like, oh, we got this good. It's okay. We can just continue. You have to be getting better every day, or at least striving to be getting better every day.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so by, as far as the guests, when they arrive, typically the farm is a good distance from the main road. It's about maybe a quarter mile, half mile maybe. So if they have 4-wheel drives, they can drive down to the farm. If they don't, then we have a kind of like a shuttle service that brings you down to the farm and then brings you back up at the end of the day. We're by reservation only. So once a guest is coming, we have like a short questionnaire that they fill out so that we know a little bit about them. Their dietary restrictions, special occasions, allergies, stuff like that, where they heard about us, because we're not really like a restaurant per se. When you come to Stush In The Bush, you're coming to our house, coming to our home. You know, for years, when you would come here and dine with us, you would be dining in our bedroom. We had basically it was a studio apartment. So the bed was right there in the corner. And yeah, it was there just like that. And we'd get up in the morning, make the bed first thing because, you know, that was the option. It's really started from our studio apartment, bedroom, kitchen, everything in one. So we like to, as much as possible, have a little foreknowledge of who's coming to visit with us so that, number one, we're comfortable with you to a point, and we're also sure that when you come here, despite your dietary restrictions or what you eat or what you don't like, you're going to get one of the best meals you've ever had in your life.
That's a classic case of tampon crooked cut straight. I can't even say it right.
Tampon crooked and cut straight.
Cut straight, yes. That's starting in your... Start with what you have and keep moving forward.
You got it.
All right.
You got it.
So what have been some of the challenges that you guys have experienced with farming?
As far as farming, well, definitely getting people to work on the farm.
Really? Is that an issue?
I'm sure that's a news flash for you.
Talk about that about every session. Like, we can't get our people to work. We've been blessed though, so I'm not going to complain, but it's hard.
It's hard. It's difficult. It's difficult.
Hard.
You find a lot of people say they want work, but they only want money.
That's right.
So from even before they start work, they're looking for that cash.
Hard. Yes.
You find a lot of people, even if they want to come and work, they don't want to do actual farm work because
We found that too.
From I was in school, you know what I mean? People used to look down on farming, unfortunately. And there was a time when all schools used to have a agro program. You didn't have to be an agro school. They used to have a little school garden. And then for some reason, it became punishment to send children to go to the agro class. You know what I mean?
Yeah, nobody wanted to do.
No. So if you make it a punishment, is like, you know, nobody's going to want to do it. And the second thing is like, it's like with farming. When your average person thinks about Jamaican farming, they think about the old man in the tear up clothes and the hard life. And, you know, there's nothing sexy about it.
No.
So that was one of the big things two things. There was one about vegetarian food. Because most people think vegetarian food is boring. It's not attractive. So once we started to push like vegetarian as a dining experience, we had to make it sexy.
Yes.
We had to make it sexy. So we came up with this concept called sexy vegetarian. And if you have sexy vegetables, they must be coming from a sexy farmer.
Absolutely.
Right. So that became the new way of kind of imagining what farming looks like, what a farmer looks like, and what food should also look like. You know, I think I said there was a statistic the other day that your average farmer is like 55 or something like this.
Is that okay? I didn't know that age. Okay.
Something up in that range. And there's a few challenges with that, in that typically your farmers are getting older. There's not a young people getting into farming. And especially in these times when we're kind of coming into a sort of social ratification as Black people, Black farmers are like an endangered species right now.
Didn't think about that, but that sounds about right. Yeah.
Especially, I mean, in Jamaica, we're all Black. Well, most of us. So that's kind of different. But when you're looking at places like the States, where you had this huge history of Black people growing food, and they've kind of been systematically alienated, not just from the land, but from access to loans and from the market. You know, we need to have a generation of young Black people that are wanting to be farmers. And
absolutely.
I'm kind of glad that I'm seeing that, though. So it is happening.
Yeah. And you're right. And that's one of the things. Okay, so we have 1 minute and 56 seconds remaining. So
my God. Whoa.
No, that's okay. We're going to end the session and then come right back in. Okay? So let's just go ahead and end it now before it cuts us off, and then we'll come right back in. So everybody,
no problem.
We have more to hear from Christopher. All right? See you guys in a couple seconds.
All right, cool.
All right.
Bye.